all that bullshit. I'ma put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
And welcome back to another.
I hope that got on the mic.
Welcome back, Conrad.
Welcome fucking back, Conrad.
To another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but it's not limited to, two.
We're 8 minutes late, and you're still disheveled.
Well, I didn't know the countdown was on.
See, that's the thing. He
At
was
all?
just like, well, once you're like 10 minutes late, then you just don't know when you're going live.
There are a lot of indicators.
I mean,
as to when we will be live.
Yeah,
I mean,
But honestly, they didn't
you
even see
just
the countdown.
you stop thinking about.
there's a
those things.
70-inch television that has the countdown displayed on it.
It's not in his peripherals.
No. I mean, we're not in that big of a room. Everything is in his peripherals. The only thing he can't see is the S4Y wall behind him.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Conrad. How was north of the border?
Montreal was cool. It was pretty awesome. Playground's an awesome place to play. All the dealers are awesome. The staff, everybody was really cool.
Did you get any?
People were cool.
Did you eat any?
Poutine?
Putin?
Yes, I did.
Poutine.
Vladimir
Putin.
I think it's spelled the same as Putin, to be honest.
No,
not.
it's Poutine.
Oh, there's an
Right?
E?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there's an O.
Yeah.
Wait, there's no O in Putin?
No.
And
Oh,
Vladimir?
yeah.
Putin.
Utin.
Oh, I totally would have spelled a P-O-U.
No way.
Like
Yeah, for
Putin,
sure.
like
Poutin? That's
the
Poutin.
leader Putin.
I'm pretty sure you would have seen it and
yeah.
you'd be like, no chance.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
after
you're
you
probably
write
right.
it,
If I'd seen it,
it would have like
you're-
no chance.
But like off the top of my head, like the "oo" sound is always O-U in my
It would be
head.
Poutin.
yeah, I had
Well,
It's
to
like
be fair,
pouting.
you're telling me there's an E at the end of Poutine.
That's what
and-
makes it not Poutine.
But it wouldn't be Tine?
Poutin. Teen.
No.
Time.
T-I-N-E?
No, it wouldn't.
Why not?
'Cause it's just not.
Is there? Are there any other INEs that are in? It's a short I, right? Short I,
It's
ignored
not,
E.
it's not Putin. Poutine.
Poutine. Teen.
Like
Right. So it's like
pristine.
right. So it's like EE.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. You got me with the pristine.
Yeah.
I'm on board now.
I'm
You brought
sharp
me,
as a tack today.
You brought me. Well, you were 25 minutes early, so
yeah,
I mean,
I got prepared thinking of all these words this whole time.
You're like, I know we're gonna talk about poutine, and like I'm ready.
I know he's going to get it wrong and ask
Okay.
for
All
examples.
right. What the fuck is it?
So, oh my God. So it's French fries. So I had a surf and turf poutine.
Okay.
And it was French fries, lobster, steak, and gravy.
It's effectively
What about cheese curds?
For some reason,
There's
right
cheese
now,
curds
that
in
I
it?
thought it
sounds
has
really
cheese
good.
curds.
Maybe.
I
But it was
don't
really
think
good.
it has to have cheese curds,
I thought
right?
that was the whole thing.
Oh no, I think it's just that I thought it had to have gravy, but
No.
maybe not for the surf.
I think
Brown-
it has. No,
brown
I had
gravy?
gravy. I said
I don't
gravy.
know
Oh, you
about
did say
lobster
gravy.
Yeah, brown gravy.
I
Okay,
think I'm out
It,
on
yeah,
that.
it
I
was
think I'm out on
really
gravy.
good.
Brown gravy with lobster, though?
I'm out
It
on
was
that.
good. I'm
Well,
telling you.
I
Gravy.
believe you.
I want to know how this is a French cuisine. Like this has to just be a French Canadian cuisine.
It's got
Yeah.
French fries on it, man.
Right. It's like what happens when what happens when other cuisines come to America. Like we Americanize them.
Yeah.
You know, like pizza comes
We
here
just
and we
make
turn it
them,
into
like,
Papa John's.
8,000
Freedom
calories.
fries, baby.
Right. Right. Yeah. Everybody was raving over it. I was unfortunately cutting at the time and couldn't experience it. That was way better than.
I
Do you
can't
like
see
gravy?
you eating that.
No,
it doesn't seem
that
to
does
fit
not.
into your color profile.
You don't like gravy?
I like great. I don't want my fries to ever be soggy.
No.
And
And
I
the-
definitely don't want my fries to not have
So-
ketchup on them.
So they weren't actually.
They weren't soggy.
No, I guess it's like make.
Oh, I gotta tell you, I call bullshit there.
No, they were
Depends on
actually
how fast the
kinda
gravy
crispy.
goes on and how fast you eat them.
Yeah,
If you
I
let
don't
them,
know.
right?
You can't
Like if they
order
put the
them
gravy on
delivery.
right after, like they come out of the fryer and then the gravy immediately on and then you eat them, then you're gonna be fine. But it's
Yeah.
like the gravy's on, it's been sitting there for 10 minutes, then you're in some trouble.
Let me tell you something. It was really good, and it wasn't like there was no sogginess to it whatsoever.
You know what I've come to realize? I'm going to tangent off the tangent. Is that for everybody who gives us shit for like this first 15 minutes, like they're not our people. Because I'm like sitting here listening to the ball get passed back and forth, you know, going from the pronunciation of poutine to the definition of what it is,
You gotta keep up, you know?
to deciphering whether or not the fries will be soggy, depending upon the grade. Like, that's what I'm here for.
We just tackled
Right.
like so many problems in like a few minutes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
think that should be the whole show.
I agree.
Yeah.
We do like
Except politics.
an hour and 15 minutes of that, and then in the muck, and then we're gone.
Right. Except more politics.
More politics.
More politics.
Yeah.
And religion
the,
too. Let's
did you
see
guys see that Trump and Biden are going to be debating each other? June 27th.
My question is, what coins are we gonna buy?
We're buying Bowden. We're buying Bowden for
We're gonna
sure.
buy- are
We're
we gonna
buying
buy-
MAGA. I think that's just a Trump coin.
Yeah, there's
Just buy
one-
them both
Yeah,
and just let them just.
I think that's
go up and then-
yeah.
I heard a rumor, and I don't know how true this is, but the rumor was that it's not actually a debate.
It's a
It's
fight.
going to be
No. It's low key. It was the government's way of getting them to take a cognitive test to see if
Oh.
either of them are
Yeah.
actually of sound mind.
Well, one's going to be spouting like absolute nonsense, and the other one's going to be sleeping. So that's what we're going to have.
They're both
there were a
gonna
lot
be
of
on
jokes there. You
copious
missed
amounts
so
of
many
drugs.
Oh my God, the uppers,
They're gonna be on
the diapers they'll be wearing.
It's gonna be like a pharmacy back there.
Yeah, incredible. No, I somehow, some way, politics bled into our game today, which it's really funny because they give me a lot of shit oftentimes. Here's what it is.
Any RFK fans?
No, it's tough.
He's drawing that.
He has
No one even talks
a
about
worm ate his brain. I mean,
A
like,
worm ate his brain.
he came
Not
out
the whole thing.
He came
part
out.
of
He came out publicly and said that a worm ate his brain. By the way, I'm
All
running
right,
for president.
He's got my vote. I'm in. We gotta see this one.
What a time to be alive. When else other than 2024 could you come out and say like, yeah, a worm ate part of my brain, but I'm a way better candidate than the other two brain dead dementia guys.
I'd still rather
no-
have a half brain eaten, worm eaten person than a dog killer.
I don't get.
Michael Vick's running for
Oh,
president.
the Christy Nome from.
Oh my God, what a reach, Lamana. You
well,
guys.
she was supposed to be the vice
I
president.
don't know what the hell's happening. To be honest.
He's so deep into the politics. Like this is actually the
I bet
story.
most people got that. Understood.
Yeah, I bet they didn't.
They're like, what? No, we didn't.
How boomer do you think our audience is?
They're
Do you
pretty
think they
boomer.
don't know the story about the woman who killed her dog?
let me tell you, that
and
story
tried to
actually-
be vice president, but now she's not because she's a dog killer.
Wait, hold on. I have a question. How many people do you think in this room know that story?
This room doesn't
I knew the
reflect
story.
our audience. Our audience is more cultured and more with it than this room.
So two
No
out of
offense,
five.
everybody.
Okay, first of all, that story came up today at the table. Do you want to know how old the guy was who brought it up?
78.
Roughly 65. I actually,
Do you know what our audience is?
I actually was
roughly
familiar.
60.
I actually was familiar with the story, but only because I had read a very long Twitter thread from another rancher who basically was dispelling a lot of what she said,
Saying that that's-
which
that
then took
doesn't
me down a rabbit hole of her claiming that she had spoken to Kim Jong-un. And when pressed,
Did you say it like that?
I did it good.
I thought you did. Honestly, that was really good.
like
That was
zesty.
One fucking time, I pronounced something correctly.
that was impressive, man.
King Jong.
Kingdom.
I've been talking with Ming Lai every day. I've been working on it. No,
It's
but
Kim Jong Un, by the way. It's not King Jong.
Kingdom.
I didn't say king.
Oh, okay.
He
Somebody
said
said King.
God damn it! I get so much fucking flack. Fucking dick. God.
Maybe I thought you thought he was a king. It's King Jong Un.
I'm
Oh
actually
my
impressed
God.
with the try. You might be wrong, but
I don't know. So I don't know where I was going. Anyway, the point was politics bled into our conversation today, and the irony is that oftentimes in our game, it's a very competitive game. So like it's tough not to talk about poker in some sort of capacity, and we have this hard split between the boomers that play and then the elder millennials / Gen Xers that play, and the latter group is very comfortable like talking pretty much anything because we're not getting we're young enough that we're not going to get offended, and we're also been in the game long enough to know where the line is of what makes for a bad game.
Right.
But the former group that's been playing longer than us, to their credit, but also have seen like this massive transition from like it being an elder game to now a young up and coming game. There are hard rules that they follow. You don't ever talk about poker at the table, right? Like it's always
Right.
and it's very funny. I'll get to
Like you mean you don't talk strategy?
not even just strategy. Like you're not even allowed to like recount a hand out loud in front of some of these guys.
That's weird.
Okay.
I don't want to like name names, but like it's the same collective.
It's like we're playing poker. We don't need to hear about your story about this poker. Let's talk about something else. Like
Not even just that. It's like a hand ends and somebody like recounts the action or something like that. It's like, oh Jesus Christ, are we just going to talk about poker all day? Or are we going to talk about tits?
Okay, that sounds
There's only
It's
so
like,
much you can say about
and
tits.
like the female dealer in the box is like, I vote tits. It's like that's never actually what happens. So it's always this like weird back and forth. But like the unspoken rule that everybody seems to abide by is like, don't ever talk politics and religion.
Right.
Like we all agree on that much. Mm-hmm. The same collective group that's always like coming down on me and the Okins and the rest of the younger elder millennials, whatever, for talking loose I don't want to say strategy, but like recounting hand histories or whatever. Always the same group that breaks the cardinal rule on the politics.
Yep.
Always. They can't help themselves. And the reason is because they're so happy to see someone else that votes the way they vote at the table. They just can't fucking help themselves, man. They're like, oh, did you hear about that dog killing lady? And it's like, oh, here we fucking go. Strap in, boys and girls. And like, you need a mediator to like tell the story as it is, who like truly doesn't give a shit, like one way or the other, where it's like, okay, well, it wasn't this and this, and it was also egregious because of this and this. It's like playing mediator almost, but that's exhausting. And I hereby, I don't care about talking poker. Talk all the fucking poker you want. Politics and religion, man, it's off limits for podcasts, bars and poker tables.
Yep.
Well, unless Lamana is running like a 24-hour stream of his thoughts on politics.
Not true, but
drunk Lamana.
No.
Let's get drunk. Let's get drunk, go to a bar and talk about politics.
A 24-hour drunk Lamana stream where he
that would be the
down
best
rabbit hole.
fundraiser we ever fucking did.
I mean, why don't we just do it on
streamathon.
election night? Because that'll probably be
Streaming
24
Lamana.
hours.
He's just
Well,
hammered.
because nobody wants to watch a suicide on live stream. I mean, the view.
Yes, they do.
That's true.
I'm over it. My older days. I'm jaded. I don't give a fuck what happens.
Man, if you guys would have been around in 2006, wow, what a
2004.
year. Or 4 rather, yeah.
4 and 8.
What a year.
And 12. And 16. And 20.
Okay, just not this one.
I'm over it.
This is where the line is going.
Yeah.
Some of those were just sweats. 2004 was a different version.
2004 and
that was almost drive off a cliff.
Yeah,
Brian.
so was 2016.
Yeah.
12 now.
Anyway, though, Lamana may be our resident political guy. He's probably not necessarily qualified enough to run a full-blown pod on it. However,
I could be Steve Kornacki.
I will say, I think this is my personal opinion, but I think that a new podcast that's launching is going to be far and away the biggest thing that's touched the poker space in a long time.
What do you mean? You can't say that when we're doing our podcast.
I'm just being honest. I think
all right, cut the Guapo, cut the pod. We can't hear.
Just his mic.
Look, we're
cut
good
his
at what
mic.
we do. We're good at what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we take a big back seat to the podcast that Nate Silver and Maria Konnikova just launched.
Really?
Ooh,
It's such a great idea. And there are no two people, in my opinion, that are better qualified to do what they're doing.
I mean, I will tune in.
What is it?
It's a podcast built around risk. I can't think of it's so bad. I forgot to give Guapo the asset, and I can't remember.
That's okay. We don't need to play.
name.
They're already going to get enough. They're already going to steal enough away from us.
Don't watch their
But I keep wanting to say Risk of Ruin because that's what I wanted to call a podcast back in the day.
You did.
But it's not. It's
risky business.
Risky business. Thank you.
That's a good podcast title.
Risk of Ruin?
Yeah,
I thought so too. The original idea was going to be a podcast version of detailing Christians come up, and we were going to call it Risk of Ruin. And he refused to do it, and I think it's because the name was implying that he was too conservative.
You also wanted to call Poker Out Loud Stream of Consciousness.
Maybe that
Well,
was
it was just a working title.
Hit.
That was a working title. Don't act like I didn't land on Poker Out Loud also.
Poker Out
Stream of
Loud's
Consciousness is cool, but Poker Out Loud is just way better.
Oh yeah, who came up with that name?
Huh? Justin.
So
I think so.
I don't think
He said
so.
Justin real quick.
Yeah, he did say it real
He
fucking
did
quick.
say it real quick. Well, I honestly think he just said anybody else but you.
Of
real
course,
quick.
of course.
So-
Like if Justin would have not even been a part of Pigtails at that point, he would have just said Travis.
It was Nate.
But yeah, so this podcast called Risky Business is I think they launched their first episode today. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I have high hopes. And the reason is that forever I think that all of us in this room can kind of agree it's tough doing any sort of content where you get pigeonholed into this exact space.
Yeah.
And I feel like despite our best efforts of what we wanted this to be, we've become
We're in that hole.
right. We're doing in the muck
pigeonhole.
every day.
Yeah.
Like we're lifers.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're going to be talking fantasy football
We're not getting that
on
DraftKings
ESPN.
deal.
No, probably not getting the DraftKings deal, right?
It's over.
But the framework through which they started this, it already reaches like it's like poker's the vehicle in the sense that that's how both of them came to understand risk. But with Maria's storytelling ability, with Nate's political data analysis, and all the other things that come with 538, it's going to branch so far and wide beyond the poker landscape.
Is it going to be similar to the All In podcast? I mean, they really don't talk much poker at all. They dabble in it once in a while, But
I think the difference
their
is
main thing is like finance, and
right.
politics.
I think the difference is that they stay more true to who they are at their core. They're VCs, right? And the podcast is built around the concept of being a VC, and then they branch off into other things that they have interest in. And, and quite frankly, like, look, this happens to us all the time too. And I'm realizing now that it's a tough niche to even put yourself out there for. If you have interest in things and you are relatively educated on them, but you're not an expert, and you get a mic X amount of days a week and you speak on that thing, when you are considered an expert in other spaces, people cannot wait to poke holes in the things that you're saying.
I think they can't wait, even if you are an expert.
Yeah, but like nobody's tearing down Shamath on his stances of like VC and things that he's
People do on Twitter.
They do, but they'll go for more low hanging fruit. Right.
Yeah.
So like if he makes a political statement, or if he makes a statement on like whenever what was the shit stock GameStop.
Oh, GameStop.
Right. Like whenever he was like playing in that sandbox and everything else, people were really quick to
Called
just
a meme stock, Burke. Put some respect
bad.
on it.
My apologies. Shitcoin, meme coins. Like, come on, I can't keep up. It's too much. And I think like for them, it's kind of the same thing. Like you listen with like an open ear and a critical ear whenever they're talking about the thing that they're experts in. And then whenever they reach into things that they're just interested in, I think a lot of people get especially critical, but that's kind of a good thing too.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense though. Like imagine if someone who's like really good at cooking, like did a poker take.
Right.
You'd be like, what the hell is he
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about?
exactly.
Right.
Like a lot of people have said like, oh, you should try to reach out to other spots. Like you love sports, you love this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, I do. But like, there are a lot of people who are experts at sports.
I think
And like, imagine if they came and did a poker podcast.
well, I think it's cool because the whole theme of like risk management or risky things like that extends to other areas, and also that skill, like there's skills that transfer to other areas, like how a lot of poker players go to trading or into sports betting, and like, but they all have those like your skills are going to transfer when you thinking about risk and thinking about probability and all that.
Just think who it is. Nate Silver does the election stuff every year.
Right. He's a very good data analysis, and he's He understands politics. He understands the landscape of it. He understands everything that comes with it. So
I think Melissa's point is, I mean, you guys are kind of echoing it, but I think her point is really a critical one, because what I'm framing out for All In podcasts is that they kind of stick to their laurels and the things that their core competency is, and then branch off of that. Well, in this instance, the core competency for these two isn't pigeonholed into a space.
Yeah, it's not the activity; it's the underlying framework that you use.
Exactly. It's the framework, the logic, the rationale that they utilize in taking risk in general, and they come from two totally separate worlds. Maria comes from being a best-selling author that learned the game of poker in order to write a book about it, and then fell into a second career. So like she's kind of reframed her entire perspective of risk over the latter half of a decade, maybe, where Nate is the exact opposite. Like he came up through poker, exited and then branched off into all these other collectives that are very risk driven, right? And now you do just you capture. I truly think, and like maybe I'm like way over. Maybe I'm way over speculating, like what I think the reach of this can be, but like I think this is like a, top 25 podcast within a couple of years. Yeah.
I think it could be huge, honestly. If the second I hear these two names, I'm like, wow. It's going to be like they're going to talk about very broad ideas on subjects.
They're just big enough and they're good enough.
And they're very good at what they do. Like every time I talk to Maria, I'm like, you are so smart.
Right. Exactly. It was kind of like how I felt when Liv launched her pod. But
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, I think the difference is that like Liv is kind of insulated to that techie space of Austin. So she's kind of like floating through the already existing podcast, and she's great at what she does, but she's also like fitting herself into an already existing space. Or like I can't think of like direct competition for this pod. I'm sure it's out there, but nothing that comes to mind.
Definitely out there. There's so many podcasts. Everyone's got a podcast.
But the thing is, like they already have platforms.
Right. Exactly.
So they already have like a start.
Right. If I can't think of a direct competitor, then it means like their platforms that they're currently existing off are going to blow everybody within their circle around or off the ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a lot of people, especially in the political world, know who Nate Silver is. I mean, he's just always like in the space, especially this time of year.
He just breaks it down easily for you by numbers. Like,
right.
He
So
just shows you the numbers.
They get an inherent poker audience. They get a gambling audience. They get a political audience. And then like whoever Maria brings in, which is going to be pretty eclectic. I think they start off hot. Like I could be
it's
like
a good year to start it.
Yeah. Really. I mean, it's a no-brainer with it being an election year.
Yep.
I imagine this is like the easiest outlet in the world for Nate to kind of speculate on. And honestly, kudos to him too, because I think people forget how, like, I would love to interview him sometime. We've talked about it and I haven't pressed hard enough, but like maybe this summer while he's out here for the series, I'll kind of like really twist his arm to get on. But I'd love to hear his perspective on these election years, because the general populace just doesn't understand prop and stats very well, right? So, if you guys recall back in 2016 when Clinton lost to Trump, I think he had Clinton as a pretty big favorite the whole way. Like maybe,
well, everyone did.
Yeah, right. But I think he had her like maybe even slightly higher than the general polls may have.
Well, his main thing is the polls. So he takes all the polls and along with a few other metrics, and combines them together to get an accurate or somewhat accurate description of what could happen.
Right.
But all the polls were wrong.
Point I'm making is that like he really took the blunt of the public blow when it came to the projections. So I think he might have had Trump at like 30% or 37% or something along those lines. And the general populace just sees ones and zeros.
Right.
They just see
And
winner
it
or
was
loser.
Exactly.
Right. It was unwarranted because he analyzes all the polls, and the polls were all wrong. He doesn't conduct the polls, right? He just analyzes them. So
I imagine there's some speculation on his side.
I thought it was all numbers.
I could be wrong.
It's numbers based on polling.
Right.
Yeah.
At least that's what 538 did. Now he's not with 538 anymore. But
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, right.
When did he separate five? That's his company, I thought. Didn't he found it?
Yeah. But
so he sold it?
I'm pretty sure he removed himself from the company.
Interesting.
I could be wrong on this, but I believe I read
Yeah, that's interesting. My understanding of like what he did was more of like an actuary science, where he's taking all the data that he can get, and then he's projecting his numbers based off of that data.
He left in April 2023.
Yeah.
Does this like?
So
did he own the company?
Well, it looks the original website domain at 538 was closed, and the web traffic became redirected to ABC's news page.
Oh, so yeah, he must have been bought out then by ABC,
and
which
he was the founder.
yeah. Fuck, man, Nate Silver got that ABC money.
Damn,
ABC.
How do we get that ABC?
Bro, that's
money?
ESPN.
See, we're
That's
not gonna get it
Disney.
from the
That's
pigeonhole.
Disney money.
Disney money, man.
It's Mickey Mouse money.
We're never gonna get the ABC money from the pigeonhole.
Disney money? Disney money? Man, we're trying to get like Bing money.
We're trying to get Ghost Energy money.
Right, like, I
Wait,
can
how about
walk-
that money? We just want the trade-off.
at this
We
point,
don't
like,
even want money. We just want some drinks.
just give me this. Give me the inventory. I'll save thousands of dollars a year, not having to go buy it.
McAfee's got that Disney money.
Yeah, yeah. And man, that deal's sick too. You know that he just licensed his show to them, so they don't even have an ounce of creative rights over what he does.
Right.
That's
He just
beautiful.
It's incredible.
They're just allowed to broadcast.
Yeah, they he's in syndication on. I guess that's not the right way to put it because he's still live on their channels. But like, it's wild. He got like I think it was like a $500 million deal.
Something
Just
stupid
something
like that.
stupid. And that was literally like a year and a half or 2 years removed from FanDuel building his studio and giving him a $100 million deal. And after 1 year, him opting out and saying like, thanks guys, that was a lot of money to me. You know, I was only really doing like $1 million or $2 million a year prior.
Well, when you have a 4X deal over here.
Well, there was a purgatory period, but I mean,
but I'm sure
obviously
something's in
he
the
knew,
works, right?
He definitely knew after 1 year with FanDuel, it's like, well, we can do way more.
Yeah.
Which is how, man? Imagine, like, look, the pipe dream. We're not even talking about reality any longer, but like, imagine something like this, because this is what happened. The guy quit football and he went on his fucking couch in his basement with his buddy and a mic and just started talking shop.
Yeah.
And 5 or 6 years later, it's a 9-figure show. Imagine what world would have to exist. Like, what other timeline in the universe would have to exist where fucking Tortoise is rocking out at noon on ESPN with his nut huggers on, his fucking shell wide open, showing off the Tony Horton thighs.
Yeah,
you
look
know,
at that.
like, imagine us signing a deal with ESPN and they're like, okay, but like the camera angle on the 2-shot, like we're gonna have to tighten that up a little bit.
We can't be showing crotches anymore. It's
Yeah, they're like, or you can say fuck all you want, but it's like, you know, we got to get the balls off of TV.
there's
it's
two
just
guys
too
on there that
much.
just show their nuts the whole time. Like, we don't want to see this.
Listen.
Yeah, like
There's been polling done. It's on 538. You can check. They want to see it.
For our 2% female viewers.
right. They're like, what's the tall kid's name? Landon. Yeah, okay. Sleeves and pants for that kid for the rest of the eternity. Otherwise, you guys are out. It's like, all right, we can make that happen.
We can accommodate that.
We can accommodate that. No big deal. That was one of the more fun tangents. I'm glad we got into that one. Before we go any further, I want to remind you guys that we are running a special in honor of Matt Hunt's new course. Really excited for this one. It's going to be a 7-part course. Part 1 of, let me rephrase that. It's a 7-lesson course that's going to come out in 2 parts. Part 1 of 2 is out now. So the first 3 lessons are out. This is called Theory in the Chaos. And it is utilizing a new solver called Rocket Solver that is capable of solving more than just 3-way spots. So he's going to be examining 4, 5, 6-way spots, bomb pots, all of the stuff that you guys are saying like GTO doesn't apply to my games. Well, he's going to show you that it fucking does. Okay. So I think we have a little clip to roll for you guys on that one.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Theory in the Chaos, a multi-way deep dive. This course is going to be perhaps the most comprehensive guide to multi-way poker that's ever been put out anywhere, with a particular focus on the kind of multi-way pots which will occur in low-stakes environments, where almost every single raise pot goes 4, 5, or 6 ways to a flop. The principles we're going to discuss in this course will be applicable in both cash games and tournaments. Anytime you find yourself in a spot where your opponents don't really have a pre-flop fold button, these ideas are going to be extremely useful, since we now have the ability to examine these spots in a little bit more depth using solvers.
All right, if you guys want to check that first part of the course out, head to solve4y.io. If you're not a member and you'd like to become one, we're doing a half-off special in honor of the course. Just use sign-up code CHAOS, and you can get your first month for half price. Be sure to lock that in now. We're not doing any more fucking giveaways, man.
Yeah, it's May 31st. It ends, so go do it now. Don't come to me at June 1st.
That's right.
Asking, I was 1 day too late. No. Go
Tough
now.
shit.
Tough shit. Get to S4Y.io, plug in Chaos, and you get half off.
Yeah,
Let's go.
If you sign up today, Lamana will wear pants tomorrow.
If we get 100 people to sign up today, I'll wear pants.
All right,
tomorrow.
there it is. You heard it here first. All right, so some other news and notes from Triton. You're the moneymaker, I guess.
Yeah,
Guy
he-
is on
He's
fire.
the hero.
Why not?
He's the hero that we all need.
Have we gotten confirmation of if he finished third or if they chopped?
We-
Either way, he finished in third place, right?
He
yeah.
did.
Okay. So this was the 40K no limit hold'em event, I
It was
believe.
a mystery bounty.
Oh.
So the bounties are
Of
tomorrow.
course it was.
So the bounties are tomorrow, and he locked up 311.
Okay, so he finished third for 311,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then they draw for their bounties the next day.
Yeah, I think he has 2 or 3 bounties. I'm
Oh,
not
I
sure.
hate that.
Yeah.
There's like it's kind of fun. There's like a little like stream of it.
No,
People
I-
usually have their wives and girlfriends pick.
it's really cool. I mean, it's cool, but I hate it from a strategy standpoint.
Right.
Um,
You'd like to know what's left.
Well, it really alters play
But
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
to not
This way
alter
it-
play.
this way- it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Well, it's no, it just leaves it absolute fucking chaos.
Well, it's not chaos. It's that.
Controlled chaos.
Well, the bounty is just the average.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if 33% of the prize
Like
pool
it stays
goes,
fixed.
yeah.
Which maybe is better.
I think it's fine.
I don't think either is better or worse. It just is. Right.
Right. And that's true.
It depends what you're looking for. If you want it to affect gameplay more,
Yeah.
then you want them to pick in real time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it to have no impact on the actual tournament itself, then you do it the next day. But I would think the biggest draw to the mystery bounty is that it does affect gameplay in real time.
That's the gamble.
Well,
mean,
the gamble too, for sure.
I think that also just gives an edge to pros.
It still affects.
I don't think that's true at all.
It still
Why?
affects gameplay.
Like, you got to think about it. Like, who's gonna think about that the most as time goes on? Like, who's gonna put who that is gonna take like
Well,
on your decision each action. You're gonna be like, hey, what's in the bounties? Like, what makes sense? Like,
yeah, but it won't affect play as drastically as you're implying. I mean, there will be certain points where it could.
I'm just saying certain people
I
are
understand
never
what-
going to think
I
about
understand
such
what you're
things,
saying, but
and
it's-
it's just giving a pro another like little.
Okay, so the counter argument to that is the only place that does it is in this massive nosebleed high roller scene.
No, I know.
Whereas
Everybody's
The Rex
smart.
are
every other-
probably thinking about it.
the
too.
Recs
Yeah.
are definitely thinking about it because there's 4 of them and they talk
Maybe
to all the
not in,
pros
like-
that they put in
That's true.
the actual event,
Maybe
good
not in
point.
like the win mystery bounty or something.
which is every other mystery bounty.
Yeah.
So the 1Ks and every other mystery bounty across America, the recreationals are not thinking about it because they're getting plucked in real time. So I guess like my point is just that I think by allowing them to pluck in real time, it creates more variance to the actual gameplay, which is beneficial to the recreationals. So like I understand your point too, where there are strategy adjustments, but those adjustments are just they're not helpful adjustments to winning the event. They're helpful adjustments to accumulating bounties.
Yes.
Right? So it's like it's a give and take. And I don't know how much overall ROI is actually accumulated in that instance. And this is a great segue
Lead-in,
into the pads tweet. Because I very rarely disagree with pads. I especially when it comes to tournaments. Like, look, I'm gonna defer. The guy gets it. He knows the landscape way better than I do. But as a recreational MTT guy myself, Mystery Bounty is the only fucking format I want to play. Like the only one, and it's for all of the reasons that he's kind of stating that they suck. It's like absolutely not. Like I love the idea that we're now playing for chips instead of ICM. I love the fact that I'm bounty hunting and chasing a random luck of the draw. Like, fuck yes. Give me a chance at a third of the prize pool without doing anything in particular.
Right.
Like, let me lock up third place money with 76 people left. That's fuck it. I'll abandon my stack. Why wouldn't you want that? Like, what could be better? I
You just
play
like pull the million.
yeah,
and
I
just
play the
leave.
$1 million bounty. First place is like 700,000. And there's still like 250 people left. It's like my hourly is not worth staying here. Like
Like, yeah, he just
good.
left.
See you guys.
I don't know where he
I'm
went.
good.
I'll
Like,
see you
what
guys
better
later.
donation can I give to the rest of the player pool? It's like, fuck it, have my chips. I'm out of here, man. Just treat me like I'm a bot on ACR.
I literally was thinking that.
When I plucked the 25K, I had like 11 big blinds or something stupid. And I plucked the 25K and I was like, okay, guys, I'll see you guys later.
You left?
Well, next hand I got a decent hand and we just put it in.
Oh yeah.
But halfway
It was like
decent.
10-7 suited.
Yeah. You know.
From under the gun.
Stop. Don't give him. You know as much as I do that he's fake action pro.
I know.
Fap.
I'm helping him advertise.
Right? Yeah, you are. You're doing the Lord's
Because I
work.
don't play with him
It was
anymore,
like-
so I can help him now.
It was like ace king off instead of suited.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Mhm, on the button.
It was like queens.
Yeah, he didn't want to deuce with it. Instead,
He's
he
like,
just
I
jammed.
was really loose.
All right, so let's actually talk about this because I do see both sides, and I think it's an interesting discussion point. Let me actually find the tweet. I don't think I have it. You have it though, right, Guap?
Nobody sent it to me, but I assume this is the one you're talking about here.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
it.
That's the one. Okay, so he says mystery bounties are the stupidest format of poker ever created. I wonder how he was doing it. Actually, I know exactly what happened. He busted the 2K mystery bounty by three bet jamming all but a blind, and the guy called it off with like 8-3 off.
Yep.
And then just drilled a 3 and beat his ace queen suit. And like this tweet just came up immediately thereafter, which is the screenshot that you see there. So he says mystery bounties are the stupidest format of poker ever created. The more they take over schedules, the worse. If people want to just call any 2 versus jams with the chance of banking huge, just offer them table games with the same parameters. It's very bad for low to mid stakes regs, where the variance is infinite, and also very bad for recs who want to enjoy the tournament experience. Of course, I see the benefits of gambling side of it. Okay, so this is an interesting one for me. I wonder how much of this was just like kind of an overreaction due to being tilted in the moment. Like, look, we all rage tweet.
Yeah.
This feels like a rage tweet. Also, by the way, Guap, I don't know if you still have his page up, but if you could put the follow-up tweet, that one is a nice chef's kiss.
It's a way better tweet.
Little icing on the cake. But yeah, I don't know how much of this is like him just kind of venting because, you know, he gets it in a ridiculous spot where he's 65-35, whatever, in a high leverage spot. So yeah, he won the 530 mystery bounty a couple hours later for like
course.
80K. But yeah, I do wonder because like,
So in his, all right.
well,
so,
the point he's making is it's not real poker.
yes.
Right.
And in his, like, do you think, how much benefit do you think it is for a half of the prize pool to be put into the mystery bounty? Like for a pro? Like it's none. It's zero.
Oh, yeah,
It's
for
very,
sure. It's
very,
lower
very
stake.
bad probably.
The larger percentage of the prize pool that goes to the mystery bounty, the worse it is for the pros ROI.
So why would he ever want it?
Let's just make a pure mystery.
He wins
bounty
everything. Why would he ever want it?
Okay, fine, but that's not.
I understand
I give
that.
Pads enough benefit of the doubt to speak from a place of what's good for everyone, not just for the winners.
But this is obviously can't be good for everybody.
I think it is.
What?
I truly think it's very good for the overall.
mystery bounties.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I was saying. That's my
but,
point.
Right, but he very specifically
This
said
tweet
it's not.
I meant. This tweet can't be like it's not.
Well, if he's correct, we're examining whether or not his opinion is a good one, right? Like maybe there's something obvious that I'm overlooking or that we're overlooking as a whole. But like he basically stated that it's bad for recreationals at low to mid stakes because the variance is infinite. Where I would say the exact opposite.
I just
is
had a
good.
conversation with Brian yesterday that if I play any event this year, it's probably just going to be the mystery bounty.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be
Yeah,
bad
but
for
that's-
low stake grinders, like
Why would it be bad for grinders?
people that like not Rex, like low stake because like a lot of money comes out of the prize
People
pool.
that have like
you
low
might just run
ROIs,
bad.
But
Like-
winning.
And Guap, he's not arguing whether it's popular or not. I think he's arguing whether it's good for you or not. Right?
This is very unhealthy for you.
This
It's good for me.
well, like if like he's basically saying that it's going to eat up the Rex.
He's saying that the variance
Quicker?
is so high that it's really bad for the recreational's win rate.
But the recreationals
don't have a win rate, right?
Right.
That's
More
the-
variance is better.
It's
for-
recreation.
That's what I'm like trying to get out. I think that they just don't have
Okay,
win
well,
rates.
use your words.
It's hard. It's hard. I gotta think.
Because I think we're all on the same page. Like,
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's the exact opposite. I think mystery bounties are fantastic for recreationals.
Till Glance plucks the million.
He's a recreational.
How did he do it?
He's a recreational. But truly, I and look, maybe this is the impetus behind his tweet. If I were running an online site, I would change everything to mystery bounties because it keeps your player.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
feel like
I
this
get it. But
conversation
yeah,
happened with PKOs.
It probably did because mystery bounties are the lives. It's live poker's answer to PKOs. PKOs are too messy, so
They're
we
doing
created
one at the series.
I know, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. But
Yeah.
like in a massive field, like thousands of people, it's really messy.
They only do
yeah.
it with high stakes though, right? It's just like a 5K.
That would make sense if that's
I don't
true.
know.
But
Yeah.
PKOs will cater to the better players
Now.
more than
Now they will.
But
What do you mean now?
when they first
When
started,
they first came out, it wasn't under like risk premiums and things like that weren't understood.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Right.
people
So-
were saying they're taking over all the schedules. It was like kind of the same.
Right, because
sentiment.
so much of the prize pool ends up in the PKO itself, and then everybody's just bounty hunting
Right.
Yeah.
at some point. Like a lot of PKOs, second or first place is like equivalent to the amount of bounties that you often win.
Yeah.
And it ramps up variance. It's like the stand-up game. It's all of these things that kind of create
Save poker.
So all right. So here's the framework that I operate from that I think is a very reasonable one and logical to kind of present. And you guys can like poke holes in it as you see fit. But in essence, the recreational wants to play games that are as close to zero ROI for all parties as humanly possible. The professional wants to play games where the ROI is relatively uncapped, but not so great that the recreationals all go broke, eventually turning it into a zero ROI environment. And the sites themselves want to run slightly negative ROI events where only the rake is winning.
right.
Right.
They want everyone to break even.
Right. So in a utopian society where all three parties are relatively happy, you're running events that are relatively low ROI, either due to variance or rake. And in this particular instance, you hit a sweet spot because the rake will be generated relatively similarly. Recreationals fucking love it, so they show up in droves. You don't lose any numbers. And the pro is pretty capped at what their ROI can be.
Right.
And for that reason alone, I think like this is one of the absolute best formats for a healthy ecosystem, but it's one of the worst formats for somebody who's trying to eke out a living playing these types of events.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like the buy-ins don't scale.
Well, you'll see also like, people are starting to sell action for the series and stuff. And for like mystery bounties, usually the markup is lower because the edge is lower.
Right. Well, that's why the buy-ins don't scale. Because whenever you start to get like, let's call it 10Ks, now it does just become a zero ROI event. There are no recreationals donating to the prize pool.
And I mean, these things aren't becoming like an epidemic. Like there's
They're starting to online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, live they already are for sure.
How many there are there? The series there's what,
At least
4,
two,
5, 4.
Well, there's at least 2 at the WSOP, and then every single other property is running at least. Ario's running 4.
Yeah. They're all running a
Are they?
bunch.
Yeah,
And
but I'm
it's-
saying like I'm like basing it off of the World Series schedule, and they have 100 events, and 4 of them are mystery.
Sure.
bounties.
It's also because it's probably
Are there
it takes
4?
a lot.
There's the
The 1K, the 10K.
the 1K, the 10K. There's a PLO one. Maybe there's only 3.
Okay, right, but
Yeah.
but the thing with the WSOP is they don't really do a lot of repetitive formats, right? So
Yeah.
it's not the best barometer. It's more so like what is the city as a whole doing collectively? And I would guess, without looking at all the schedules, there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 to 30 mystery bounty events over the summer.
Not only that,
That's
it's
a lot.
It's their most overhead event to run, probably. Like,
Also.
for a mystery bounty, you gotta hire somebody to run, like DJ, whatever, MC it kind
gotta
of.
hire a pirate
They
who's
do
gonna
a
get
bunch of
kicked
shit,
out.
so like it's just like whatever.
At the World Series, yeah, but not at all properties.
And I mean,
No,
they
no.
are very, very popular. So that's why you would see them, obviously. But I don't think it's getting to the point where it's like that's all there is.
All the things that
I
are
think-
becoming an epidemic, mystery bounties, double board bomb pot, stand up game. These are all gambling things. Like
They all reduce the
people,
pro's edge.
Yeah, people want to gamble now that like everyone's studying and running fucking trainer all the time. Like this is their way to take the game back.
Right.
They're
It's
people
true.
want to gamble.
It's true, and
it's like
we
crypto, right? Nobody wants you don't see people deep diving into a certain protocol because it does all these certain things. They're like, no, just give me dog with hat, like give me Pepe. Like I want a meme coin to gamble on, but that's kind of like the culture we're living in at the moment.
Well, it's also just in my opinion, it's indicative of a very healthy ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that's been true for as long as we can look back, right? Like even going back to the Moneymaker boom.
Yeah. You're able to spread the wealth out a little bit longer than just having it all funneled to the top as quick as possible.
But I can understand why Pads' opinion is what it is, because the online environment is not what we see live.
Right.
The recreationals are few and far in between. Everybody's really like already on a razor thin,
trying to eke out edge.
Yeah, they're on razor thin edges as is. And I think what he actually was speaking to, but maybe didn't want to qualify it this way because it's going to hurt some feelings, is it's really bad for the slightly better than break even pro.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
The person who has a 10% ROI, it's really shitty for them,
right?
Because their ROI might be half of that in a mystery bounty, or maybe like 2/3 of that in a mystery bounty event. And I think the compromise, or where this thing ultimately settles, is that they just reduce the amount of the prize pool that goes into the mystery bounty.
Yeah.
So it becomes less of a factor if there's less of the prize pool dedicated to that. But I, for one, would love to see traditional bounties gone forever. PKOs and mystery bounties are infinitely better structures.
It's amazing. It's really
traditional
amazing
bounties are just like absolute rake traps.
They should
it's
never
crazy.
be run again. They're so annoying. There's no they're horrible. When you have mystery bounties to play, there's no point for regular bounties.
Right, and we're long past the days of using the excuse of like, oh, the Rex like traditional bounties. They like being able to win their buy-in back.
You ask if they want a mystery bounty or a traditional bounty.
Exactly.
We'll get
Exactly.
the
Like
answer real quick.
if you really want to
just look at the numbers.
Right. If you really want to appease them in the sense of like, oh, they like being able to win their buy-in back in the first 2 levels or something like that. It's like, okay, then figure out a mystery bounty structure or a PKO structure of some sort where they can start earning bounties right off the gate.
Yeah.
Like do that. That's fine. And honestly, like, look, the way that things are progressing, we're going to start to see more and more of this, because incentivizing on-time registration is a huge thing that live operators, like if I was in charge of live operations of any one property, the one thing I would try to address as a tournament director is getting butts in the seats from hand one. It's the easiest way to up your rake as a property manager, and it's also like the easiest way to control the structure moving forward, right? If you don't have to guess what the cutoff is for or like what point the structure should have a cutoff for late reg, and how much of an edge are you now giving to people who are coming in with 40 big blinds versus 30 or 20 or whatever. If you don't have to work all that shit out as deeply, and you're just cutting registration off with like 80 big blind starting stack or something like that, you're on easy street, and you still have a lot of churn, a lot of people coming in and out because like they're exchanging bits of money in the early levels because it's a PKO or because it's a mystery bounty from jump or something along those lines. Like, I don't know, man. I think the more that you're able to create a hybrid between cash and MTTs, the more you bring everybody in collectively and keep them there.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think stuff like this is saving poker? And
I think it's prolonging. I think it's prolonging what could have been a death spiral, right? And I say that looking at the online environment, because I think like everything always moves faster there, and trends will always emerge from online first. And I think post-COVID, we started to see the beginnings of a death spiral online, and it was largely
I got in at the top.
Yeah, 100%.
I got in like on the way down,
Right.
catching knives here.
And a lot of it was predicated around like the tech advancing and cheating and things like that just happening at such a large scale that people weren't able to make it. But the other half of that coin was the people that weren't cheating were trying to keep up with cheaters, and so they were getting really fucking good, like really, really good, and games were just becoming unbeatable Like people who used to have an ROI at like 109s suddenly weren't beating like 33s.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you know, there's nowhere you just can't keep going down. You can't always play the idea of like, oh, well, you can just drop a stake and drop a stake. It's like
Were you playing like micros?
yeah, when you're
Can't make a
like,
living anymore.
yeah, when you're
Right.
playing like $1 MTTs,
Right.
like you know, time to move on.
Yeah. Then those get tough, and you got to play the 10-cent ones.
Yeah, right?
Hey, you understand?
You're getting like $1 an hour. Maybe?
Right. So it's like I think that we started to see a little bit of that live, where not post COVID because the floodgates reopened once COVID. Everyone was so happy to be outside again, and the numbers were just through the roof. But I think like right before COVID, maybe we started to see a little bit of that where people started talking, and maybe like a little bit like going into even last year, people started to talk about like how 1.2 is just an unattainable markup at like 1500s all of a sudden. It's like, wow, I remember people selling at like 2.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
In like 1500s.
Right.
Like they put a package together like sub 3. Imagine this world. You need to put a package together because you don't have the money to front yourself, but you're able to sell at 1.8 markup for everything 3K and below.
Your living is markup at that point.
There was a huge discussion in like 2015 of whether or not it was ethical to sell out your package and free roll a percentage. So say you sold at like 2.
Yeah.
Was it ethical to sell like 50% and then just free roll the other 50 with no skin in the game? And then the discussion became, well, is it ethical to sell 100% of yourself
and just
pocket the buy-in,
You're locking in 100% ROI.
and then like play?
Yeah.
And the notion, like a lot of the conversation started to settle on, well, it's like, well,
You have to have skin in the game.
there were 2 camps. There was one camp where it's like, I would not buy if someone doesn't have skin in the game. And then there was another camp, and I think these are a bit of the ideologists, where they were kind of like, well, if a person does that and they're just not taking it seriously, we'll stop paying the markup and they'll lose the grift. So they won't be able to continue to do that. So they're not really incentivized to sell all of themselves, have no skin in the game, and then not play well, right? And if they're going to play well anyway, then they should have some skin in the game and, at least free roll themselves some sort of piece, which I think like in a theoretical realm, that's a very strong argument to be made. But in the practical world where somebody has the capability of selling at like ridiculously unbeatable markups and people buying that, where they're hard up for cash, if you're going to, I think like the thing is like, well, if you sell 100% of yourself and pocket 1 buy-in and then have 0% moving forward, you could just as easily sell 600% of yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And just grift people that way.
I
But
just would never see a world where somebody would just not want to have a piece of themselves.
That's true.
That's honestly like just
how
who
hard
would
up
ever
could
wanna
you
do
be
this?
where like you need the 50% but 40% is not enough, like
right.
Like, I would always want a piece of myself.
Yeah, right.
there is that pain of just like getting the biggest score, the lifetime score, and you have 10% of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're almost like anti-sweating yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to be anti-sweating.
I'll never
yourself.
forget this. This made me think like there was something wrong in his brain. Randall Flowers won either Festa Lago or it had to be Festa Lago because it was a little bit smaller.
Right. I remember.
He had 10% of himself. He wins it for $850K.
Yeah.
And I saw him afterwards, and he was happy as a fucking clam.
I mean,
I literally might have been broke at the time, and I just could not process it. I go, how can you stomach handing someone $800,000 of your winnings?
720.
Sorry, yeah, whatever. And he was just like, he was like, what was the other option? Not play?
That's the thing. Like I've played
Yeah,
for my like
guess.
I think like the lowest I played for was like 15% of a 10K.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what was my option? Like, you
No,
want me to not play
and
this
look,
10K?
You're right, because I understand it so much better now than I did then. I was emotionally attached to the scores. I know that they're so few and far in between.
that's how I feel.
But it's like you're playing a 1500 at that point, and that's your ABI anyway, Yeah. So that's quite reasonable. And I'm sure Randall was thinking very much along those lines. He's just a sharp kid. He understands the math of it all, and he's really happy to have the score.
Right.
But from my vantage point, it's like, man, you might only win one of these things in your lifetime once.
Right.
And it's like to not have a huge chunk of it. It's like,
but I
how
feel
the
like
fuck are we
thinking
going to
like
make
that
it?
will make you undersell forever.
And then
Yeah.
For sure.
It's also going to make you play less because now you're less rolled and
Right.
you're not be
Yeah.
able to get opportunities.
risk
Yeah,
of
You can't do
ruin.
other things like that.
exactly.
You
Your
get a lot of
bankroll management's gonna go. Pew.
You get a lot of opportunities when you're outside. That's just like the way it works.
Yeah.
Like if you win, just you make money.
Yeah.
Winning is very important, believe it or not. I don't know if anybody told you guys, but that's
Learn it.
as far as like the bankroll management side of things
It
go.
does help. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of critical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't win, then you don't have anything to manage.
That's true.
It's very true.
Well, let's discuss a little bit about the cover story here when it comes to managing winnings. A couple days ago, Nadya Magnus was three-handed in the Moneymaker tour at Palm Beach Kennel Club in Florida. It's always a Florida story, man. It's always a Florida. As a matter of fact, before we get to this, can we get a shot of Florida man jerking it to Landon getting flashed at the portal? I mean, this
to Ryan. This is his best work.
This is fucking art. Okay, this is absolute fucking art. By the way,
If you want to know where Landon is,
There's a girl flashing Landon as well.
This is why he's
do you
not
know the
here.
backstory to this?
No.
Okay, so this woman, there was a portal in New York that went to Dublin.
Okay.
It was a virtual portal.
I know about that.
Okay, she walks in front of it and like does this whole like flashing, shaking her tits and whatnot for them to all see. They shut the portal down.
Okay.
Do you know the story of the man with the gas pump up his ass?
No.
Okay, so found.
I saw it, but I didn't know the story.
Okay, so found out this guy was actually in Italy.
Oh wow!
You
I
can tell
would
if
not
you
have
watch the
guessed
video,
that.
you can see the sign in the background.
Right.
It's all
it's
Italian.
funny because I said
always your people.
I know I made fun of the French and I said it could be in France and then it's one of my people.
Yep, it's one of your
course.
people.
Yeah.
I deserve that.
It's really funny. I showed the video to the guys at the Bellagio, and Andrea, who's from Italy, was like, "What the fuck is?" I go, "That guy's Italian," and he goes, "No fucking way." I didn't know it at the time. I was just joking, but it turns out he actually was Italian. So yeah, apparently he gets his jollies by getting the premium fuel up the a-hole
Yeah.
while jaying it, and Ryan Braun just created a magnificent piece of art.
Beautiful.
Where
He put Landon in the portal.
he put Landon in Dublin.
of course, in the towel.
I think for Landon's like final table, we need to get like a cardboard cutout of his towel picture,
Or like all wear towels in some sort of capacity.
or get it on a shirt or something.
man, it's
yes.
so
the
good.
towel pic
Yes.
on a shirt.
Yes, absolutely.
We should get on
Get
that.
some shirts.
We're
made.
on it.
Very nice.
We're on it. We can just upload it to our store.
Yeah, people could buy it.
We can literally just upload it to the merch store.
I think those would be the best-selling item.
Well,
Yeah.
not only can we push this merch for the next couple of weeks leading up,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure we get like free SKUs, right?
Like one or two maybe.
Okay, well, whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
one or two. But more
Yeah.
importantly, it's on demand, so we can just fucking
Right.
order it immediately. We
Yeah.
don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Maybe we should just get that exact Photoshop.
Oh god, that's a little much. That's a little
you
much. I
gotta
don't
walk
know.
around.
Forget walking around. We're going to be on national television. The
might kick us
WPT
out.
broadcast.
No, you won't be on. You won't be on anything.
No, it's okay. We can put S4Y logos over all the naughty bits.
Okay, yeah. There we go.
Oh, man, this is genius. I'm so excited for this.
That's how we go viral.
Had to bring that meme up. Shout out to Ryan Braun. That was so good. Okay, so anyway, Nadya tweets with three-handed. Maybe this was after she busted. I'm not sure what place she finished, but I do know that she was down to the final three. She said, "It turns out that Palm Beach Kennel Club demands your fingerprint if you want to cash out. If you refuse, they want your physical Social Security card. Otherwise, no money.
Insane.
I will go ahead and drive home back and forth to get my card, but I will never, ever play Palm Beach Kennel Club again." To which Noah Carbone, who seems to be the director of poker there, says, "I've been the director of poker for 15 years. This is the first time this procedure has been challenged. We will take the time to review it and make adjustments where necessary." He got torched
Oh my
for saying
God.
this was the first time it was challenged. Just absolutely,
Yeah, no way.
That it has to be impossible.
of course. So
Literally impossible.
Bro,
so
just
there-
lying.
Well, there are a couple of things at play here. So apparently Palm Beach Kennel Club has only recently started running events large enough where cashing would warrant any sort of what's the form? Is it a W-9 that you fill out?
I think
yes.
that's right.
Hold on,
yeah,
that's
it's a
only
W-9.
over 5K.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Jonathan Tamayo said he won 10 plus years ago. I wonder how much it was for.
I would assume small. From what I was reading in the comments, they were
What's
saying
a
that, like-
W2G? Is that what you're talking about?
oh, maybe, yeah.
That's the form you get.
No, that's what they give you. You fill out a W-9.
You feel
A W-9 is what they get all of your information so they can 1099 you.
yes.
Yeah. So mind you, all of this is just in compliance with the W-9 form. So for anybody who's not familiar with what a W-9 is, you basically give your tax information so that they can properly tax you at the end of the year through a 1099 or a W-2G.
Anybody that had a job has to fill one out.
Yeah, or an independent contractor, whatever.
Right, yeah.
But more importantly, all they need off of you is your EIN number, which is your tax ID number, or if you're just an individual, it's going to be your social security number.
Right.
They don't need the physical card. You can just give the number.
Oh, that
Yeah.
seems
And that's plenty good. So he said in 15 years, this has never been challenged. And then somebody else was saying like, oh, you've only been running events large enough for it to even qualify for a W-2G, or sorry, a W-9 for the last couple of years. So maybe it's only been like a few dozen people that have been through this process and haven't challenged it or whatever. But in any event, basically everybody said bullshit.
I had to fill one out when I hit the hot card at
So
Joel.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So I actually kind of figured this.
Okay.
206,000
For what?
John-
The one to my one?
on February 26, 2013.
Okay. So yeah, that would have been what, 11 years ago, and he claims he didn't have to leave a fingerprint.
Yes.
So maybe they just started instituting this, and no, it wasn't exactly accurate.
Well, he said no one had complained in 15 years. If the rule just started,
Yeah.
technically he's telling the truth.
Right, exactly. So on top of that, I guess like getting to the crux issue here of like, well, what's the big deal? Just give your fucking fingerprint.
Yeah.
Or just give your fucking physical card, right? It's like, well, where's this information going? Right?
Right.
And Katie Stone brought up a good point. She said, can you share with the community what happens with the data you all collected over the last 15 years? Where does it go? How is it stored? Who is in charge? What's the mechanism for viewing it? And who has access? Things along those lines. And I think that's a really important line of questioning, because if you're physically taking the fingerprint, it means that it's a part of the protocol that will somehow, I guess, be like a second form of protection against getting improper information, right? So basically, like, you're trying to cover your ass,
Yeah.
right? Who's asking for the fingerprint? Like, when in the history of them doing this protocol have they turned a fingerprint into the government, right?
Yo,
Right.
Florida casinos are like the wild, wild west, but it's the wild, wild south. It's just like it looked like a house when I went to. I went to Hialeah Park and it literally looked like a house. It's just like it looked like a big mansion that Tony fucking Montana lived
Was it
in.
just a card room?
No, there was a casino on the bottom floor, and then on top floor it's a
Okay,
car.
'cause
and
Florida's-
the horses.
Florida's similar to, okay, maybe it was a dog track
Yeah,
previously. Okay,
yes.
so
It is a
Florida is very similar to California in the sense that outside of the Indian reservations, they don't have legalized casinos, but they have dog tracks and they have card rooms. And I don't know if this was the rule. I don't know if it's changed, but I think at least at one point in time, card rooms had to be attached to dog tracks.
Okay,
But I'm pretty positive that's changed because Orange County Casino, or Orange County Card Room rather, and Daytona's Card Room, they're just straight poker.
but they're connected to a dog track.
Former, they don't race any longer. At least not that I'm aware of. So there are two entities at play. So like Palm Beach Kennel Club, as far as I understand, is just a card room.
Okay.
Right, where Seminole Hard Rock is an Indian reservation casino. It's full-blown gambling. They have licenses and oversight and everything else, right? But regardless, that's the other thing, is like he tried to kind of like say, well, this protocol is just based off of what the government's asking of us. And it's like, well, that's not true. There's no way that you're held to a higher standard than an actual full-blown casino that's
Yeah.
licensed.
Right.
And dealing with, hundreds of thousands, million, 7, 8, 9 figures worth of transactions.
Yeah.
Right. Base guy, shout out for the super chat. He says it's the same fingerprint that opens your house and your phone. I wouldn't give mine up.
Yeah, that's what I was
Really great
thinking.
point.
Well, it is funny because I was gonna say that, but you are willing. We all did willing to give our fingerprint up to Apple
Yeah.
and to Android because
Speak for
we've
yourself.
all used
My
it.
genome
You never
is
use your fingerprint?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I use face recognition, but
Even
I
better.
found that to be more annoying than the fingerprint.
Well,
Yeah.
well, on Apple now you can only use.
I know,
The
I
newer
miss
phones,
the-
you can
actually
only
miss the
use facial
fingerprint.
recognition, but before it was a fingerprint or type in your code every time, which
Yeah.
nobody did. It was just
Yeah, of
too
course.
convenient to just touch it. And yeah, so I mean, we like it's funny because we were like outraged that they're like taking our fingerprint, but in other ways we just give it up freely.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh my God.
you
I
know,
broke
it's
my-
kind of like, but like,
My God, Melissa.
She broke the mic. So,
really broke
so there actually aren't any dog tracks anymore in Florida.
Right.
They're all. It was like a law that got whatever in like 2020.
So
I
that's
didn't
kind
realize
of
that.
yeah. So I think the previous stated law was that card rooms could only be on dog tracks.
Which means they probably got grandfathered in from their previous,
yeah, maybe.
and just like that's why they're able to run.
Yeah, probably true. Doesn't really change the desire to take someone's fingerprint though.
No, of course. And also, like, what are you doing with this? Are you like scanning, like, what do you call that? Getting like a copy of it, like on a piece of paper? That would be absurd.
I think that was Katie's point, where it was like, "Are you holding your mic?"
Yeah, I literally broke
it's
it.
literally broken. I was
God
like,
damn
oh,
it.
you can just screw it
Snapped
back in.
it.
No,
Like,
it's
I
like
snapped the metal.
literally the metal screw is snapped
Like,
in half.
let me say one thing.
That was by far our most expensive.
She is so pissed about this fingerprint thing that she
I can't
snapped her.
take
That was by far our most expensive
like
mic
holding
stand.
it.
God damn it, Melissa!
How did I snap? I'm not even that strong
You're
anymore.
only here twice a week.
I know, I snapped it right off.
I don't trust that Florida's like a Florida casino that was previously a dog track has like the record keeping of stuff online or on a computer.
I'm sure it's digital. I'm sure it's digital.
I mean, it's just
Here's the
seems
thing, like,
shady.
Could you imagine if they literally fingerprinted you like,
Right,
like you're getting like a
I don't think that they're putting the fucking black ink on you. But
Yeah.
like to that end,
know, man.
to that end, I agree with you. I do not trust a fucking random card club's ability to ensure cybersecurity.
Right.
It's more the principle of it. Like, I don't even I literally did 23andMe and they have my genome. Like,
Right.
they sold
Yeah,
it to
yeah.
somebody. Like, I don't really care.
Oh, you're part of the.
What can I do now? You know?
You're Mormon now.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you're part of Church of Latter-day
Sure,
Saints.
that's fine.
You didn't know that?
Wait,
do I
what?
get like a kickback or?
Oh, you don't know this. This is a fascinating thing. So apparently, it's not 23andMe, it's Ancestry.com. But apparently, Ancestry.com is either founded or run by the Church of Latter-day Saints. And the premise is that they will collect people's DNA because they can convert you post-mortem into Mormonism. Or
Post-mortem?
yeah. When you die, you can still be converted into becoming a Mormon. So basically, they get your
DNA?
DNA and your records and whatnot, and like then they make you Mormon.
Okay, that's fine. I'm
Look
not.
it up.
I mean, I don't. That's okay that they do that.
They're attempting
They're gonna
to
do it with my body,
they're attempting
or-
to salvage all the souls into
can-
the Church of
That's
Latter-day
okay. If
Saints.
They can
if
do whatever they
that's
want with
honestly
me
probably
once-
the least harmful thing they could do with
thought
it.
we were-
They're just
we're
like
going to talk about religion.
playing
This
pretend.
isn't religion. This is a spaghetti
They're
monster.
playing pretend with your genome. It's like that's fine. If
Yeah.
that makes them feel good.
That's
I know it's Scientology.
But-
imagine you're knocking door to door in your afterlife. Carrying a fucking
Sorry.
Bible.
There's worse fates than door-to-door
Oh,
sales.
that's true. We're definitely in for them too.
Yeah.
Limo said Apple refused to give fingerprints and facial recognition to feds. So I trust them now.
Well, did they, or
That's
is this
fine.
another conspiracy? I'm not. Nikki's not the best source. You know, she's capturing this off of the dark web. Like, yeah, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. She's not gonna like
Either
that
way,
one.
what am
not
I gonna
saying
do?
a word.
It's more it's more the principle. Like that's
Nikki
it's a
Limo
dumb rule
is
to
typing.
require my fingerprint.
Oh, it's
so
insane. Well-
I don't want to give it to them.
It's all, yeah. It's just like truly insane. Honestly, like I mean, I know you have to, but I would even have hesitation giving them my social security number. It's like, look at how many big businesses that do have like pretty high degrees of cybersecurity get breached.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the most recent one off the top of my head was the credit bureau.
Transatlantic?
Was it Transatlantic?
It's TransUnion. What is it? It's
Well-
not Transatlantic. It's TransUnion. Or
No, what's the one that you can get your
Oh,
credit?
it's called
Equifax, yeah. There was a big security breach. This must have been like 5 or 6 years ago, and they were able to capture. Like all the time, I see a warning on my phone that says like, "Oh, change this password."
I
because
get
it was
emails all the time.
You don't change him.
No,
But it's like, with how many there are,
they have my social security number. Like, you want my emails too? Fuck off.
they have everything. Like with how many breaches there are every year, like they already have our stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. It's the principle.
Berkey once told me to stop talking about LDS Church during a live stream.
Who said this?
Mickey?
I don't know who it is.
Well, is there a name?
It's MECBB9.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
No, I just never know. But I figured you might know.
Yep. No, we were on a live stream once, and he was in my fucking ear the whole. I have no idea. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Let's get.
Mormons aren't even allowed to play poker.
Right. Well, no, they are, just only with their wives.
Well, then they gotta
Come on,
they
man.
Jesus Christ.
Then it's full ring. Nice.
Very good.
Let's get to the end, Muck. This podcast is in the muck.
Today's in the muck. We have the
She's a
the
little proud of
microphone.
herself. She's a little proud of
How
herself.
am I strong enough to break that?
I know, Jesus. Lay off the juice.
I know. I guess I'm
You on the
strong.
gear?
Yeah, I'm on the gear.
You didn't share? That's
Oh
fucked up.
my God. All right, we got Rex. He's in the muck. So I'm not sure. He didn't say where he was playing or the stakes. He just gave the big blinds, and there were decimal points, so it's probably online. So folds to, we're going to say it's 5-10. So folds to Rex, and he has on the button, and he has the king of clubs, 9 of diamonds. He 2.5x to 25. Big blind comes along. They are about 1,370 affected, so 137 big blinds effective. Flop comes ace of clubs, jack of hearts, 3 of clubs. Big blind checks. We go for the overbet of 75 into 55. We get called. Turn, 6 of clubs. Check. We go for the overbet again. 265 into 205. We get called. River is the pairing the board, 6 of spades. Check to us. And we go for the overbet again. All in, baby, for 1,005 into 735. We get called by the ace jack off. No club.
Okay.
And we lose. We blocked the not flash. We went for it. Overbet.
Uh-huh.
Let's go for it. I mean, we're going for it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we're in the muck.
Yeah.
Rexy.
I like the spirit.
Sexy Rexy is
Sexy Rexy.
Sexy Rexy is.
Jesus.
Hold on, boys. We're going for it.
Berkey loves it.
I love the spirit of the line. Okay. Let me hear where you guys think this went wrong. If you even think it went wrong, maybe this is just it. Maybe this is the line.
I think both of the overbets.
Both?
All three? You mean?
He went for it 3 times. Wop.
I was already lost by the river. So
I mean,
don't know
I
what
guess the
happened on
river you don't
but-
really have a
but
choice,
The flop
but-
and the turn seem no bueno.
Flop, I think, is more overbet when it's rainbow, if I'm
That's
spending
correct.
correctly.
That is correct.
But I don't know. Maybe it's okay.
It's also just less on ace jack. More
Right. I was going to say
Ace
ace king,
queen,
ace. Yeah.
ace
Yeah.
queen.
So you want the ace king, ace queen.
As played,
ace jack.
River was amazing to me.
Okay. All right. Conrad at least votes for the River Street being good. My biggest. Well, all right. Okay. I think the flop is ambitious, but not the most egregious mistake made in this hand. Because big bets will exist.
Yeah.
I think we're more capped at pot.
Yeah.
Like you said, on the 2-tone boards, you don't really have the rule of thumb is that the board textures that offer the largest sizings will always be rainbow because there's more backdoor equity you need to deny. So an overbet may occur on this board in theory if it were rainbow. I imagine not. Just based off the fact that it's ace jack high and he's going to be flatting a lot of ace jack off. But you know, whatever. If this were Ace Jack 3 Rainbow and you went for it, like, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And actually, I just looked at it. 3E is used on Ace Jack 3 Rainbow. So 150% pot flop is totally reasonable on a rainbow board, not on two-tone though.
He did say it is online, and he said it was 4 players. I don't know how I missed that, but it was four-handed. Four-handed.
Okay.
It was four-handed. It was online.
There's that. It changes things a little bit, but okay, fine. That makes me be a little bit more critical then of missing the sizing on the flop. If you're in an online environment, people are going to be a little bit more clear on what's a non-size. And if I see 3E on this flop size or on this flop texture, I'm just going to kind of just be like, this guy does not have it. And that's why Ace Jack never put in a raise, right?
Do you think that the non-sizes on flops are usually bluff heavy?
On board textures like this, yeah. It's hard to non-size value here.
Yeah.
Unless it's just 3s.
Yeah.
It's very easy to miss this with pocket 3s because it doesn't matter. You unblock all the calls. But with pocket 3s, you're not going to go 3E on turn and river.
Right.
Right? Or not on turn, I should say. River, you'll try to get all the money in. But on turn, when the flush card falls, which this is what I think is the most egregious error in the game.
Me too.
Turn.
And this is also a byproduct of why you're capped at pot on the flop instead of 3E. Because the texture is going to change that much more frequently. You know, it's going to change to a flush complete a quarter of the time, whereas on a rainbow board, the flush will complete 0%. That's a big difference.
I think just a good heuristic is that when the draw completes, like especially like the flush draws, you almost never have overbets.
Correct.
Right. So like I see people make it
single raise pots. Right? It literally might be never.
Right, and it's just like
you still want to be able to value bet some like top pair stuff. You're never going to overbet with that.
Yeah,
so you're kind of like
right. I think people think they see the blocker, the nut blocker, and they want to put as much pressure on as possible, but they're forgetting about
like,
the
please
rest
fold
of the
now, so I don't have to deal with the river.
Right,
right.
And then that failed.
Yeah, and then
now
like,
we have a river
I guess
to
I'm
deal
dealing
with
the river.
He dealt with it all right.
He got dealt with. So yeah, I agree with Brian's assessment here. I think that the turn is like where this hand is lost. After overbet flop, we're kind of positioning ourselves largely into a very polar range. Sure, it'll have some flush draws in it, but when that flush completes, when we have a flush, it means our opponent's range is now weakened, but consists of a lot of showdown values. So a flush doesn't want to put a lot of pressure on like ace 10 no club, and it just does by overbetting, right? So I would imagine, especially through this line, that we're probably capped at like half pot on turn.
Yeah.
3 is no longer really an option. We're not going to be able to get all the money with our flushes, and we're going to have to protect our range with a lot of other stuff. Now, when we come through the overbet again and the river pairs the board, we're super fucked.
But we also have no other chance.
Right. Because like, here's the story we're telling them. Hi, I have top and bottom pair. No, just kidding. I turned the nut flush. Just kidding again. I have Jack's full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like that just doesn't track, especially when you have a bluff catcher, because the bluff catchers here are going to be flushes, ace jack, and then like ace X with a club that blocks your it blocks your strongest flushes without blocking the bluffs.
Yeah.
Right? So like a hand like ace 9 of clubs would be a good example. Blocks king 9 of clubs. That's really good. But you don't want to have like, I mean, not that he would, but you don't really want to have like ace king with the king of clubs, because like what are you bluffing with?
Right.
You know, you want to unblock like king queen with a club, you want to unblock king 10 with a club, queen 10. Hands like this that have like additional equity, like gut shot plus. So you would be calling with like your bluff catchers that would call here would be ones that, you know, ace jack is easy because you're not just chopping against an ace. Not that an ace would ever take this line, but you'd also just be probably indifferent with like ace low and a club, right? So like ace deuce through ace 9 with a club.
And you're blocking sets or boats.
Yeah. I mean, the ace blocker, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we do more jack X calling by the end, just because aces like should just never play this way.
Yeah.
nor should ace-6. It seems like impossible for ace-6 to be in range.
Yeah.
So like blocking jacks and threes seems to be most pertinent. But again, like we're looking at 3 non-sizes. So we're going to have to do a fair amount of locking to even figure out what the fuck the response is supposed to be other than just like clicking call because it's just too much king X of clubs. King X with a club, rather. So yeah, that's my assessment. We can take a quick look at what the wizard has to say. And here's a good indicator as to when overbetting also doesn't become a thing. When out of position has this much leading, that's good insight as to probably not going to play overbets too much. I mean, you can still have a polar strategy against a linear range like this, but I would imagine like when we take the lead out, because I doubt very many people, if any, are finding leads here. No. I would imagine that even the pot size bet goes away. There's just gonna be too much ace jack now. You saw how much ace jack was leading. Let's see what the frequency is now of the big bet. Okay, so it's still the only size you choose, but now we're only betting 20% of the time. Whereas I think when he still had leads, we were betting closer to like half. And the small size might have been utilized a little bit more often. A little more often than never, I should say. So 15% is like a pretty aggressive lead strategy. Yeah, I mean, we're still checking back quite often, but we do get to bet a little bit more liberally. When out of position has a lead range, we do get to bet quarter here, a small frequency of the time. And then we're basically capped at pot for about 22%. I would say we just eliminate this. I think it's pretty good practice to assume until proven otherwise that your opponents aren't studied in donking ranges. Most just aren't.
Especially on this board.
Right. So when we look at a hand like King 9 off, pure check back. Doesn't matter what suits. Which, to be fair, I think I would have missed this in game. His hand does feel like a pretty nice bluff to me.
Right, yeah.
But I think the reason that probably... yeah, that's kind of my inclination here. The reason why that happens with the King 9-0 is because you just have better options with like King 10,
with
Queen
the gut
10.
Shot, and yeah.
Right. And then you have like worse single club hands like Queen 9-0, Queen 8-0. So like these are just like better choices, I think.
King high might be good sometimes.
Yeah. King Queen, another one. Although I'm really surprised to see King Queen not choosing to bet the King of Clubs. I guess that it might just be like too high up. Are we just... I guess we're always betting the King of Clubs with King 10. That's why. It's just stronger. So you don't want to be imbalanced.
You want some King of Clubs in your check back range.
Right. Well, you do have a lot. You still have King 9, King 8. But yeah, once you start getting down to the lower ones, so King 7, King 6, King 5, King 4, you can see that it's pure betting the King of Clubs.
Yeah.
So basically, you can just think of this as a simple hierarchy. The 9 is no different than having a 4 in what it accomplishes once we bet pot. So in other words, turning a 9 is never going to, or it's not good often enough, or any more often than it would be if we turned a 4.
Right.
And we don't really have any reasonable backdoor straight draw with a 9 that's any different than a 4. Right. So basically, like King 4 through King 9 are all on equal playing fields, but King 9 is much stronger of a hand than King 4, so it just bets less.
Yeah.
It shows down better, basically. It blocks more Jack X, which is ultimately what you're trying to get to fold out by river when you start with this pot size bet. So a bit of an error here in hand selection as well as size selection. Let's go ahead and give him the 3E size and see how it juggles this one. And then we'll lock for him betting the way that he was choosing to bet. So you see that the betting frequency goes way down and the quarter potting goes up ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Just not really a fan of the overbet, but it will force it. So let's go ahead and lock in the overbet size, and then let's lock for some more candidates. Well, let's give it like maybe a 40% c-bet frequency.
Yeah, it came in there.
Yeah. So yeah, now you'll start to see the King 9 come in. It's not going to be with the King of Clubs though.
See, it's still
well, again, it's because of the ranking order, right? So let's go ahead and lock, like, let's just say half of the King of Clubs, specifically bets. All right. That way we get a little bit of our actual hand and don't have to defer to a different option, even though they're all kind of the same. All right, so we go ahead and we roll with it. Let's see how much raising takes place. A little bit, not a lot. It's just pure click whenever he does raise. Slightly over, I guess. It's like 2.25. And you see a lot of it does come from ace-jack, which stands to reason. More with the jack of clubs than without, but you know, it's pretty close. It's a pretty even mix. But the hand does call often as well. And you can see that it's like a really high fold frequency because it's facing such a large bet that he doesn't have to call all that often. He's even trapping like threes here a fair amount of the time.
7-5.
Yeah.
Clubs.
Just clubs, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you see these hands that like nearly pure fold, but then find continues some small amount of the time, it's always going to be the front door draw.
Yeah.
So that's all the mixing that you're going to see taking place here again, like front door draw, front. And this is another reason why I think that the naked king of clubs doesn't want to bet at such a high frequency that we're doing it with all of our king X, because you see that what happens is you get all the worst to fold, right? Mm-hmm. So like when you bet king nine off, you start to get like all the king 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 to just fold unless it has a flush draw and you're blocking that variety of it, right? So like all of that's out. The majority of the offsuit king X is out. Like, so like king 10 should never play call without a club. Nobody's drawing to a gut shot here versus pot and a half, unless they also have the backdoor flush draw. So basically you like eliminate a lot of his nothing simply by blocking it. And then what ends up happening is like, of course you just overly funnel him. So turn was the 2 of clubs?
Turn was a 6 of clubs.
6 of spades. Right.
6 of clubs.
Sorry, 6 of clubs.
Yeah, running sixes. I remember now. And we're going to stick to our story. I imagine that's never going to happen in practice. But let's see. Okay, again, really high leading frequency here by out of position. And that's because of how he's been funneled.
So he just has tons of flush.
He has all
17%.
flushes.
I mean, look, 17% of his range is a flush.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Because he folds everything else because it's
The
like
rest is top pair.
Right.
yeah.
Right. Like when we look into
Like
it's top pair or better.
he doesn't peel any like jack X or
Right. So you can see like 14% of our range is a flush, which is kind of surprising to me. But then we get really weak thereafter, right? Like we have a little bit of 2-parent sets, but we start to have just like under pair, or sorry, not under pairs, like a low pair, king high. We have a ton of now because we've blocked that way. And then we have a bunch of like no made hands, which is queen high or worse. So we just have like a bunch of trash. Almost half of our range is just like utter garbage. And you can see that it's basically splitting down the middle between B40 and 100%. I would only one size here. When the flush fills after overbet, I would just have B40 and that's it. And I think that like if you look, I don't really see anything that chooses pure bet 100 that isn't mixing, right? Like if we highlight this, aces, but aces is mixing bet 100 with check. Right. So first of all, you had to overbet aces on the flop, which is a really tough one to find.
Yeah.
You can see it's like one specific suit: ace of spades, ace of diamonds. That's it. Like the only combo that you're allowed to do it with.
Like you just have the board crush. Why would you ever overbet?
Right. And like, yeah, if you're single sizing, I get it. You have to bet some of your aces for that size, but like it's pretty tough. But whenever you look at the B40, there are a lot of hands that purely choose this size, like 5-4 suited, pocket fours, ace-3 off with the club. No, this is just like a straight zero EV bluff.
No club.
Right, because it's bottom pair. Right. Ace-5 off. Oh, sorry, it's top and bottom. Right.
Yeah.
So like ace-5 off. This would be more, I think, like a mergy bluff / protection, I guess. Ace-3 suited, like a lot of these hands, even ace-jack, they're mostly going to be choosing the smaller size. And you can see that like as far as like single pair hands go, we don't bet any of our ace-king at all. None of the ace-queen suited, and of the ace-queen off, we're only betting with the queen of clubs. So we're redrawing whenever we do choose to bet it. We're really, really, really tight in our betting frequency. You can see that our naked kings, to be fair, king 9 off goes for the big size.
Heyo.
Oh, we're here.
I said that there aren't many candidates that choose the single size of big, but king 9 off is exactly it. So I guess like It's not supposed to even be there.
Right.
You never bet it on the flop.
Right,
But, if you
somehow
force
do,
it, if you make it a thing, it could be a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you can see, like he has the right idea in the sense that the naked king of clubs does bet big. It's a part of your big betting strategy. But again, we're capped at pot, so
There's no way it's betting big on the river.
right. Well,
I don't think.
let's see what. Well,
we'll find out.
So here's something I speculate. If we change this to 2E and still leave B40 in there, I think the 2E size will completely go away. I think it's going to single size B40. Like maybe 2% of range will bet like pot and a half. No, okay. It didn't shift as hard as I thought. I'm a little surprised by these results, to be quite honest. This seems impossible to balance in practice.
Yeah.
But I guess we did force enough naked king of club that we do have a bluff candidate. So let's go ahead and follow through now with that large size, see what happens as a response. It's forging full houses. Okay, so nearly pure call. There's some jamming that takes place, mostly with nuts. So king 9 of clubs, king 7 of clubs, king 4 of clubs, all in. Queen 10 of clubs, second nuts, all in. 10 8 of clubs, all in. And then the bluff is king 10 with the king of clubs. So pretty simple. I mean, it's jamming like a handful of combos of nut flush, a handful of combos of second nut flush, one third nut or fourth nut flush, and then 3 combos of naked king of clubs. No other hands go all in. Literally nothing else. So pretty easy decisions here. Probably could simplify to just like pure call if you wanted to. River now 6 of spades. I imagine we're still going to see leads. And I wouldn't be shocked if we saw like some donking out of ace jack. Oh no.
No,
okay.
it's
I got it
almost a
wrong.
pure check, huh?
Makes sense though, I guess. The
Yeah.
board did change twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so nearly pure check here. What do we risk the biscuit with? King 9 off.
Oh, we do?
Okay, so we go for it some of the
Wow.
time. Not
With the
often.
club? Obviously.
Well, I mean, that's all we have left.
That's what we got left, yeah.
So our naked king of clubs, it does it sometimes. But look, we have to have a lot of value to support this, and that's not as easy as it sounds in practice. So we have to have jacks full that we carried through. We have to have all of our pocket threes. So in other words, we always have to choose 3E. It's the only line we can take with threes in order for this to be balanced.
Right.
It's like the only line we can take with king 2 suited. We have almost that in full.
Which threes is reasonable. to
Threes
take
is
that line.
reasonable, sure.
Maybe not on the turn.
Turn feels yucky.
Right.
Turn feels pretty yucky to bet. And you know, justifiably so. Like every street was supposed to be capped at like 100.
Yeah.
What's like? So the king 9's all in.
King 9 is all in some of the time. King 10 some of the time. King 7, King 5. It's all some of the time. We have to get like pretty thin though. We have to bluff like Queen 3, blocking his pocket threes. And that's like Queen 3 no club, so that's a little scary. We need to go thin for value and like jam 9 high flushes some of the time. Basically targeting exactly ace jack call. But all of our nut flushes you can see jam. So you can't miss that value jam whenever it comes to having nut flushes in spite of the board pairing. That's not scary enough. We have to have enough value to support the flushes, so we have to carry through aces, jacks, and pocket threes, of course. Got to find some bluffs with the pocket fours, with the queen threes, with the king threes. So basically we want to have those full house blocks. And then and only then do we get to jam our naked king of clubs.
Right.
And we have to be very select. Like we have almost no king 10. So that's very important, right? Because these are easy to miss and why this play is probably losing long run.
Right.
Because it's like we're already doing it with a hand that should have never bet the flop.
Yeah.
Which means we're probably going to just overdo it every time we have a hand that qualifies this
to
way.
balance this
Right.
Like if you,
in real time.
I mean,
If
it's
you have-
possible, but like you have to already have baked in your head, okay, this whole subsection of King X, I don't bet.
Right. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is like
It'd be hard
pretty
not to
tricky.
do it. If you did it with the king 9, it'd be hard not to do it with the king 10.
Correct. And let's see, I imagine ace jack's indifferent, and then all flushes will call. Wow, ace jack's pure fold.
Yeah.
That kind
Not
of shocks
bad.
me. I'm surprised to see ace jack be a pure
That's
fold.
what he thought that ace jack no club would be
I was right.
be a fold.
You do more calling with king or with jack X.
Yeah.
So you just like king jack calls more than ace jack. And it's just because it's just the concentration of pocket jacks is much higher. So we only have like a quarter of a combo of aces where we're supposed to have like half of our combos of jacks. So just blocking the jack is a lot nicer.
But you block the nut flush and jack's full.
Oh yeah. Sorry, you're right. With the king of clubs.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry,
You're like
you're
double
right. So
blocking.
it has very little. The jack is just the showdown value aspect of it. The king is the more important part because you can't ever have ace king. So yeah, good catch there. That's actually very true. And then everything else is just full houses, flushes, and then a little bit of like ace 3 calls for the full house blocks.
Blocker.
Yeah, you block aces, you block 3s. That's pretty nice to have there. So like, yeah, sure, in theory, like ace jack fold, but if you're overdoing it, which for what it's worth, if I saw this line in real time, I would be like 3 non-sizes. You're way overdoing it, I call.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would be confident on the flop, very confident on the turn, and then like slightly annoyed on the river, but
Right.
kind of just like, okay, well, he's just not giving up with something.
Yeah.
That has to be what this ultimately is,
Right.
because I block all the full houses. So yeah, I think like right idea, wrong mechanics. Got to clean this line up a lot.
Yeah.
But I think the thought process behind it, like I like that he identified a big bet spot on the flop. A lot of people will miss that. The problem is if you're not studied enough in those big bet spots, you don't realize that you're only betting 20% of the time.
Yeah,
Right,
like that's like
exactly.
over applied almost.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like
to the
across the board.
two-tone instead of like rainbow. Like it just can be like, it's also like when you learn like a new trick and then you're like, oh, I can just like, oh, I see it, I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
And then you end up doing it way too
there's
much.
an ace king 3 flop. I got overbet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't state with enough clarity how overdone this is. Like, look, this is button big blind, right? We only get to c bet 17% of the
Right.
time on ace jack 3 rainbow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's supposed to be our board type of thing,
Right.
and it's just not really a scenario
Obviously,
where.
too, the bigger you bet, then like the lower the frequency is going to be. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's not even really letting you go quarter, right? Like quarter just isn't really supported by anything here.
Right. You just do a lot of checking on boards like that.
Yeah,
when
but
you
I think
bet-
that's very counterintuitive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for button versus big blind,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because like, look, if I take away the big bet, I'm pretty sure we're just going to range bet for maybe not range bet, but it's going to be like maybe like 70% bet.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And maybe I could be wrong about that because there is so much leading taking place here. So yeah, it's like 50-50, 60-40-ish, 55-45, I guess. But if you just make it a quarter, which I think this is the way most people study this spot,
Yeah.
almost every hand in range bets. There are very few that check. Like, you know, around the 8, you see a lot of checking take place. King 8, King 9, all of that stuff. Concentration around like the suited queens and stuff like that. But the vast majority of hands can support a small bet.
Right.
And also, this is a really tight big blind defense because I'm looking at a high rake sim. If we did an anti sim instead, or no rake sim rather, like an MTT sim, I think the c bet frequency would go way up.
Right. Their range is just much wider.
Right. The 3 bet frequency out of the big blind is so much lower. But even with all that said, it's never going to get to the point where like this is a range bet spot for big.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it gets misapplied.
Right.
People look at this spot and they're just like, my board, I know I have big bets available. So do I have a hand that has any properties to this texture? Absolutely, go.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to be so fickle about the hands that you're choosing once you start to funnel money. Like shoveling money in the pot. I think this is something that kind of gets misconstrued and something I'm even guilty of because my environment maybe allows for it a little too much. But when you make the conscious decision that like, I am going to rocket money into this pot starting now.
Yeah.
Right. The thing is, like, what if you have like ace 7? You don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't mind. The thing, ace 7's easy because you just bet the flop.
Yeah.
For big, and you got all your value, and then
you
you
can
check
check turn.
back and then make a decision on the river, right? It's when you have the bluff that you're just fully locked, like the same way that you're betting 3 streets for 150% pot with pocket 3s is the same with every bluff candidate you pick.
Yeah.
And that's not the way the machine will balance it, and it's not the way theory would treat it either, right? It's like you have a cluster of hands that you bet at some frequency on the flop for the large size so that no matter what the turn is, you can cherry pick from that cluster and say, I now follow through. But the way that our minds work, we are always gravitating towards binary.
Yeah.
It's so hard to present a spectrum to us. and not have us just reduce it down to always and never. So it's like king 9, king of clubs. This is a bluff candidate because it has a nut flush blocker. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it becomes every other candidate that looks exactly like that, and it never relents. So now ace jack is just a print to go call, right? So I think that's where what was our man's name?
Rex.
Rex.
Sexy Rexy.
Sexy Rexy. I like the idea, Rex. I do.
He's got the heart.
He does have the heart.
All
God,
the heart.
God bless him.
All the heart.
Can't get that upset about the ace jack call down though. You know, it's just you would have been real pissed if you would have called with king jack.
I can't imagine what else you did this session.
Yeah, let's get a deep dive into that session, Rex.
Can we get a full session history?
Let's get a session review because I feel like we're gonna see some spicy ass
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Let's go.
Maybe that would be the next live stream.
Yeah.
If you guys would like to submit your own in the muck, head over to our Twitter page at onlyfriends_pod or hit hashtag Discord in the chat. Be sure to join the community. We have an entire forum dedicated to in the muck. Submit your hands. The manager will pick it out and we will cover it on air. Also, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. And hey, just remember, half off if you sign up for S4Y TV. Go check out Matt Hunt's new course.
Code Chaos.
Code Chaos. That's right. Thank you, manager. Theory in the Chaos. That's going to do it for us. I think we're going to be back tomorrow at noon. I'm like 90% sure. There's a small chance I get a starting seat, but it's very, very small. So on that note, we'll see you guys normal time tomorrow, noon Pacific. End the week on a good note. We'll talk to you guys all then.
Later,
Peace.
Sprott.
Peace.